All right. Well, I just want to welcome you all. As Dr. Kuhneman said, this is really an exciting week. My name is Jessica Califf. I'm an associate director in the Center for Civic Leadership. If you've not heard about the center yet, or you have, welcome and welcome again. This is a great collaboration among campus-wide, and we hope that it is also among all of you. So really take this week. I mean, the best piece of advice I have for you is take this week to understand the different reflective practices that you can gain, and be intentional about that so that you can take on all the different opportunities to identify opportunities during the opportunity fair, of course, or the asynchronous material, and reach out. I think that's a really important thing. All the material, I'll also drop my email in here. If you ever have a question about the CCL or want to engage after this, please do feel free to reach out. I think this is a great point to just connect and be with one another virtually as we go into this unusual maybe spring semester or another repeat of last year. So with that, I actually want to ask you all to write next in the chat, and that way we will start with introductions in order, if that works. That's all of us. Okay, so we'll get started with Yuhan. Am I pronouncing that correctly? And I'm sorry if I did not.
Oh, yeah.
I did? Correct. Okay, great. So let's start with your name. Of course, we just said that, where you are at Rise, your classification, and why you were interested in January Jumpstart.
I come from China. I was an MSc department student accepted by spring 2020. Actually, I have been working in industry for 3 years before I come back to graduate study. For here, I think it is more interesting to look more opportunities, like, after if I get a higher degree in graduate school. That's the reason I come here.
Okay. Well, welcome, Yuhan. Thank you for being, I think you're one of the few graduate students, but I think your perspective will be a wonderful addition to this process. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Madison.
Hi, I am one of the reflection group leaders, and then the other girl is in the other group that we're leading right now. But my name is Madison. I am also a sophomore, and I'm at Martell, majoring in computational and applied mathematics and psychology, and I am I'm a PCA, and so that's why I'm a reflection group leader.
Martell, I'm also a Martell advisor, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm a Rice alum, so Martell was my love. So it's great to meet another person from Martell. Yes. Anushka.
Hi, I'm Anushka. I'm a sophomore at Lovett. I'm majoring in economics and social policy analysis. And I chose to participate because I guess I'm just looking for more opportunities and learning about how to find opportunities, etc.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Anushka. Davis?
Yes, hi, I'm Davis, and I'm a freshman at McMurtry. Majoring in electrical engineering. And so, yeah, being a freshman, I'm just interested in seeing what I can do now, and also just exploring the opportunities available, so that I prepared, further down the road.
Wonderful. Welcome, Davis. I hope this will be helpful as you kind of round out your freshman year this semester. And then last but not least, Jenny.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a sophomore at Rice studying political science and managerial studies. And I wanted to participate this week just to do some more career exploration and get to know more people.
Wonderful. It's good to see you again, Jenny. Wonderful. Well, I think we'll get started. We're a small group, but again, you will all get to know each other more through the smaller reflection groups that you have going on this evening. Madison, do you have the time for that? You want to mention it for everyone?
Yes, I believe this group is 6 to 7 p.m.
Okay, so I hope
Central Time.
We'll be able to make that. And again, please do reach out. I'd love to hear kind of how your whole week goes through. So with that, let's kind of get started. I mentioned reflection, and I mentioned the importance of it. And I think for me personally, now more than ever, being in this Zoomscape, being in this environment, it's so important that we're in the moment as much as possible. And that means identifying strategies to do so. And so that's kind of something that we want to highlight today in being forward action and utilizing tools that are handy to do so. Of course, there's challenges in what we're facing, and it's hard to stay, focused. Distraction is everywhere, right? I mean, I'm in my bedroom right now. I'm sure many of you are in shared areas or places that you don't have as much control over as would be on a normal campus setting. But I think it is helpful to know these things so that way we can center ourselves, and that's really what we're going to be doing here in our first reflective practice. So this is, again, a mindfulness and presence activity. We're calling it a noticing and naming activity. Again, what I want you to do, and I'll ask you to turn off your camera for just a minute and to mute yourselves. But what we want to do is I want you to focus on one item that's somewhere around you that you can see and touch. I want you to notice every detail. Think about its characteristics, think about its weight, its texture, even come up with the precise color and description that you would have. I want you to think about the feelings that you associate with that item. So with that, again, focus on it, really like give it all and your focus and your attention for a minute. I'll time us. Turn off your computer, not your computers, turn off your videos and mute yourself. And we're gonna come back and talk about that. And I'll turn off my video as well. All right, that's been about a minute. If everyone can come back either so I can see your faces or just maybe raise your hand so I know that you're present. Wonderful. I see a couple of you, and I see that we've been joined by Riti. All righty. Well, since Riti, I'll let you introduce yourself in just a minute. Can you see my screen and see the activity that we're doing? All right, Eli, hi, welcome in. We'll do introductions in just a minute, but we were in the process of doing an activity. So I have so many things opened up on my screen and I apologize. I want to see if anybody would want to maybe describe their item without telling us exactly what that item is, and we can just hear your description of it. I'm happy to go first, but I would love to hear someone else as well.
I can go first.
Thank you.
Is that the car? Is that okay?
Your car? Yeah. I mean, you can tell us about it.
Yeah, I was imagining that I was on my road trip.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm driving my car and my, the color in the car is like white controller, and I have my family seat behind my back seats, and I don't know whether it is touchable, so I see the sunset, red and orange in the sky.
What kind of feeling did this kind of moment bring to you?
It's really warm and cozy, comfortable, and really like relaxed. And also see the cows, puppies, the grassland. Yeah.
You're going on a country.
I see that's not touchable, but it's my imagination.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share what they were focused on and let us guess what it was? Davis, Anushka, you want to go?
I guess I could try. So I was looking, it's here on my desk, and I know I can notice it because it has a light on it. So when it at night or anytime, I can tell like there's a blue glow around it. But when I'm working at my desk, I feel very connected to this object because it's kind of a stability anchor, like keeping me. I can't move elsewhere because of how important it is to the work I do at this desk. Also makes me feel powerful in a sense, but not the way we would usually say is because I get power to other things.
Interesting.
So without saying it, yeah, that's.
Can anyone guess what Davis's item is? I was going to say it's maybe a Bluetooth charger, but I'm not sure if I'm correct or not.
It is a charger. It's not necessarily Bluetooth, but it's a charger, yes.
It's a charger. Wonderful. Well, I mean, this was just a little fun activity. It's something for you to always come back to, and not, of course, that one item, but rather it's something to help you center. So whenever you're feeling distracted, anxious, even in the class setting, I feel like sometimes too much Zoom makes me start wandering, both my mind and where I'm looking. And maybe with that, we can focus on something that's near us, that we can touch, that we can see, without maybe distracting even the Zoom scape for ourselves, but come back to it. It helps with anxiety. That is actually a useful tool to center yourself. So while this was just for us to share and be together, I do hope that you might utilize this and sometimes think about it when things kind of get distracted for you. Before we go on to the next thing I want to talk about, I wanted to give Eli and Ricky a chance to introduce themselves, tell us where you are at Rice in terms of your classification and why you're interested in January Jumpstart. I'll start with Eli.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a freshman, probably going to major in mechanical engineering. I'm doing Jumpstart just because I'm interested in, exploring opportunities and trying to do some future planning, especially while I have the time before classes start again.
And Eli, what college are you at?
Oh, I'm at Will Rice.
Will Rice, thank you.
Hi, I'm Rithi. I'm a freshman at Hanson. I'm undecided, but pre-med. I'm interested in January Jumpstart because I just wanted to build up some of those, or like find some of my professional interests, especially since I'm undecided, and find more opportunities.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both, Rithi and Eli, for joining us. Madison is going to be your facilitator for your small group, so you'll get to see a lot more of her. Rithi, we've of course met before, but my name is Jessica Califf with the Center for Civic Leadership. So if ever you need anything, please do feel free for everyone to reach out. So let's keep on going. I know we have a couple more things for us to get going with. So I know I mentioned the word reflective. We just did a reflective activity. And I'm curious, how do you define reflection and what does that mean to you? So maybe if you don't mind putting in chat what that means to you, what is reflection? Maybe some are your successful study habits that work well for you. What happens when you kind of get mentally lost? Like this one, we just focused on an activity. What helps you kind of center yourself back? Do you maybe journal? Do you talk to friends and family? Is that something that you regularly do? Put some things in chat that make sense to you, really about how you define reflection. walks. That's fantastic. I'm a big list person as well, Ruthie. Live and breathe it. Meditation and prayer, fantastic. Going on a run. Drinking coffee. These are really great, I think, introspective moments that you have all shared, right? Nature comes to play a lot, sitting with yourself physically, mentally, and otherwise. And I think that's really an important thing. That's kind of my synthesis of that. Let's all talk together about, what do you find valuable in these activities? So as you're, walking or you're sitting, what's valuable for you in that moment? Or afterwards? Jenny, can I pick on you? I don't know if Jenny can still hear me. Okay, Jenny. Eli, what's meaningful for you of going on a run? What value does that lead to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's good exercise. And then I think, I don't know, especially if like I'm taking a break from studying and doing it, I can like take my mind off work and just kind of, I don't know, it's like a time to relax and just kind of like put things in perspective and de-stress a bit.
Mm-hmm. Anushka, what about sitting in a quiet room? What does that mean to you?
Pretty much the same answer. Like it helps me put things into perspective and really just calm down.
Davis, I really liked your breathing, meditation, and prayer. I do yoga, and breath work is still something I keep trying to practice at. What are these maybe 3 things? Do you do them consistently? Tell us a little bit more about that.
I guess sometimes I do them at the same time, but like breathing can help reduce like anxiety or a period of time where you're really stressed out or whatever. And so for a moment you can relax a little bit, and then clearing the head so that you're kind of focused on almost nothing for a moment, and then that helps you kind of reset. At least helps me reset my brain to then think about how I move forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then prayer is just kind of a very peaceful and hopeful thing to add to that.
Yeah. What I really liked about what all of you shared was just the process of it, right? Doing these things is not a one moment in time, even a run, right? It's the journey, not the destination kind of thing. But what's most important is it's kind of putting you forward thinking, right? Your meditation lets you think, you're clearing your head, but you're meditating on maybe what's to come or mantras or something that's a manifestation, maybe. Same with prayer, sitting in a quiet room like Anushka, right? You're thinking about what's to come maybe or reflecting on what happened in the past to move forward from it. And so I think something that's really important is that we can reflect in different ways, right? It's not like just sitting down, putting a piece of paper and saying, I must reflect now. But these little moments and times, what gives us peace, what gives us clarity often helps us in reflecting. And what's different between, we'll talk about this in a minute, the difference between reflection and then critical reflection, I think is what's going to be the most important learning lesson that you get throughout this week. And again, that in itself is a process. So as I mentioned, right, there's different kinds of reflection. There's descriptive reflection where it's really, you'll get those in class, just like think back about this assignment or think back about this experience. It's really just cut and dry. You're doing a summary, right? You're reporting it, you're recording it. But what's different is critical reflection that pushes you forward. Think about it much like the analogy of a run. You're pushing yourself forward to a destination. And that's what critical reflection really is. It helps you through a process understand yourself in that moment, yourself within an experience, how you're engaging with others, and making a plan of action to move forward. So this is, again, very much just a cursory look at critical reflection. You'll get into that more with Madison. And is it Senna that's your co-facilitator? And Senna.
Yep.
Great, awesome. And so you'll talk about that a little bit more throughout, but really take this as a moment, the beginning first step of critical reflection to really understand yourself. And that starts with the first thing that we have here on our screen is sense of self. So awareness of agency and choice. You had a choice in being part of January a Jumpstart. You all talked about why you were interested in that. And I think it's important for us, as you sit in a quiet room, as you take a run, as you meditate in prayer, to think about those choices. And it really all comes down to something that's so important to each one of us. It's our values. And really understanding that the basis of most of our decisions that we make in life are from those values and what those choices represent. So the major activity that we'll talk about today and work on now and then into the smaller reflections is kind of a value intentional goal setting. So let me keep on going. With self-awareness, again, like I said, is understanding the values and actively examining them and articulating them. This graphic you see here is part of the PDF that we'll look at. It's all the different values that they help you choose from and identify what is most important for you. But this is, of course, not an exhaustive list of values, but rather just kind of to get your mind sparked of thinking about what values are important and how we kind of create the set of values that makes, our own mission statement. We hear that a lot about organizations. They have a mission statement. Each one of us should have our own mission statement. And I hope that through this process, which we use in the CCL in almost all of our programs of defining your personal statement and your mission statement, to use that going forward in this week and beyond. The other point of critical reflection is the multiplicity of perspectives and feedback. So think about what you're going to be doing throughout this week, right? There's, of course, the asynchronous, but a lot of it is synchronous. Right now, we're in a group of, how many are we? We're 8 people right here. And so we're learning about each other. There's multiple perspectives. There's also going to be feedback. And I think feedback is so important. It kind of gets glossed over sometimes in higher education, right? We get a paper back from our professor. We maybe read the feedback, we might not. We maybe go to office hours and we might not. But it's really the way to grow is through feedback and through learning from others. And to be very honest, I think what's going on in our country really needs a moment of us to understand perspectives and the importance of understanding why things are happening and how we can change that. And so if we want to always be forward action and thinking about alternative perspectives and kind of how those shape what we do going forward, then I think it's important that we gain those perspectives as early as possible through our careers at Rice. And I'll say that I wish that when I was a freshman or a sophomore at Rice that I had this ability to learn these skills early on, because I think navigating the differences in life would be so much easier if I had done so much earlier than now. And then, as I said, right, this is a process. So really what we're trying to do and what you will be doing by the end of this week is translating your understanding into a plan of action. Each one of your plans will be individual. It will be based on your values. It will be based on your interests. So really take advantage of all the different opportunities that are in January Jumpstart, of talking to Madison and Senna, of learning from them, of learning from each other, and of learning from yourself to understand what it means to build upon your values and beliefs and translating that into goals. And I think that's really where like multiple perspectives and seeking out feedback will help shape those goals and making them realistically attainable. And I think that's an important piece to keep in mind. You can be really far reaching in terms of what your plans can look like for 10 years, but scope it down a little bit to what are attainable maybe in this semester. What do you want to focus on? And how do you seek out the help that you need on campus, virtually or otherwise? I don't know, I guess we didn't ask where everybody's at, but just think about how you go about doing that. And your first step really is going to be this small group that you're all together in. And I think take advantage of it. I always tell students, you put in what you get out of it. And the more that you can talk to one another, engage with one another, I think will be for your overall benefit. So for that plan of action, let's take that first step together. And on the Forager 1 page, I think there was the PDF is right there on the screen, but I'm going to share this link in chat. Does everyone see that link? Yeah, okay, great. So this is the intentional goal setting activity, and this is really what we're going to spend the bulk of our conversation today on. It is an ambitious PDF, and I say that just to preface that that's not what we're not going to focus on the entire thing today, because like I mentioned, this is one of those like big thinking plans. It starts off with looking at yourself 10 years from now. We don't have the time and the kind of reflective capacity to do that, which with what we're doing right now. But I really highly encourage you to sit down and look at this. So maybe after your run, sit down and think about this. While you're sitting in your quiet room, sit down and think about this. Use this as a guide to help structure many of the things that are going on in your life, because it helps you look at your life in a holistic fashion. And I think, we throw that word around, being holistic, but it really is, especially when it comes to you and your own planning. It's so important because one piece shifts and maybe domino affects another. So your goals in the future that you seek for yourself, what we hope for, what we want to do, again, is all rooted in our values. So instead of going through that entire PDF today, we're going to look at just the first few pages where it helps you identify and reflect on your values. So you can keep those as front and center throughout this week. Use that when you go look at new opportunities, when you are networking with others, when you're entering new spaces. I know this, and I don't mean just Forager One being a new platform, maybe for you, it is for me, but more about the new areas of understanding on campus and the opportunities that presents. And then making those plans. So use those values throughout. If you've ever done a CCL program, we often, again, start with those values, and we'll come back to those throughout and think about, your values shift. If you think about what was important to you a year ago might be different than what's important to you now. And that could be even true for a couple of months from now. So really keep going with that. I, again, encourage you to use this, Madison. I know you and Senna will use this throughout, but keep it as like your handy dandy notebook kind of thing. And use that throughout this week and then into beyond. Is everyone able to open the PDF? Any issues there? Okay, good. All righty. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to give you 15 minutes. Turn off your video, mute yourself, and I want you to work through pages 2 to 4. That's the value statements. When we come back, we'll have a discussion about it and talk about it, but really, I'm giving you 15 minutes to be reflective and take the most out of that, okay? So if you have any questions, I'll be right here. But really look at that list. Don't let it kind of limit you to what's important. Identify those values, define them for yourself, and let's create a personal statement that's important to you. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so I just want us to have kind of a discussion about this, because I think the amount of time you put into this, I think, is indicative of how important values are and how even defining these and getting to it and what we mean by them, it does take a little bit of reflection and of thought process behind it. So I want to ask kind of, what did you think about as you drew on making these decisions about your values? What came to mind for you? What was important for you? Eli.
Yeah, I think one of the things for me is I think I tend to be like idealistic about stuff like this, and there's a lot of things I strive for, but unfortunately, of course, I'm not perfect. So there's things I constantly work towards, and it's, hard to choose them because it's like I don't always, I'm not always up to the standard, but I'm always working towards it, I guess.
Which value helped you kind of encompass that, do you think?
Self-control.
Self-control, okay. Who else? Davis, what came to mind for you as you were kind of drawing upon maybe one value or a couple of them?
I think for the most part, I based most, if not all, of my values off of like my interactions with school or extracurricular activities. At least for the moment, that's what I'm involved in, whether it's like teamwork on group projects or extracurricular events that involve teams working on larger projects. And then also just kind of the necessary interactions to kind of learn and pick up over the course of the pandemic as a way to like approach challenges and how you can make the best of certain situations and work through them.
So experiences had a lot to play, either current or past. I'm curious, Davis, as you mentioned the pandemic, do you think any of your values shifted because of the pandemic and your experience with it?
I don't know if they shifted as much as were magnified. I noticed certain things that I wouldn't have thought of as being my number one, maybe not number one, but in the top 5, have now kind of risen up there as a result of the pandemic.
Do you mind sharing one of your values?
I guess one is thankfulness, because in the successes and the difficult challenges, you got to have thankfulness in order to recognize where you've come from and see where you can go.
Madison, I think you've done maybe this value statement project before. Did anything change for you? What did you draw on for yourself?
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot lately about, so like my faith is really important to me, and I make a lot of decisions based on that. And so there's been some areas I've been growing in relation to my faith. And so as I was kind of going through this project or this exercise, just thinking about how like some of the things I'm working on my faith, how does that affect what kind of values I want to prioritize and stuff. I'm trying to think if there were any in particular that were different from last time. I'm not sure. I know it's not like something that I intentionally prioritize, but something that normally ends up like, it's a thing that I think I implicitly value is excellence. And that's been something like I've been learning that it's okay to not always like do everything all the time to the best of my ability, because sometimes even my like halfway work is like way above expectations.
Which is very similar to what Eli was saying. I mean, I think this is a thing with Rice students, and it's okay, right? But what's important about it is being self-aware of it and how that maybe affects our understanding and our perceptions of things. So all you self-achievers and overachievers, I think it's just important to situate it, right? Context really does matter. And being so hard on yourself right now is, to whose benefit is that to be so hard on yourself? So work on that. I think that's a great kind of add that into one of your goals of being compassionate to yourself. I think is not, we don't focus on it enough to be compassionate. Rithi, how about you? What did you focus on for your values? Maybe one or many?
I think one important one was continuous improvement, because obviously as a college freshman, there's so many opportunities that rise. I'm just trying to figure out what opportunities I want to pursue and like what opportunities will just like make me a better person, make me a better student. So I think that's one that's very important to me right now.
Yeah, and I think, you just being part of January Jumpstart is a great first step on that, right? Fantastic. I always kind of think back at my college years, and I know it's cliche, but really is you're growing 4 years or 5 years or how long ever it takes. It really is. So take advantage of that and really grow into that value. I quite like that one. Yuhan, what did you think about for your values? What did you draw upon? Yuhan, can you still hear us? I think she's still in there. If I look at participants. Maybe we'll come back to that. Anushka, how about yourself? What was important for you with your values defining moments?
I feel like I was thinking a lot about the values that led to me choosing like the career path I want to pursue. So like, for example, my first one was compassion. So I feel like, a lot of people at Rice probably think like this too, but I feel like one of the most important things for me when choosing what I wanted to do was like how I can help other people.
I like that. I think it's not just compassion for others, but also kind of the compassion of your own understanding, do you think?
Yeah.
That's great. Fantastic. Jenny, how about you? And I know, Jenny, if your internet's not working, if you want to type something, and you're also welcome to do that.
I think it's holding on for now. So
Okay, good.
But for me, I did this exercise before with the CCL, and I think that one was more like based on personal values. So they were slightly different. A lot of them did have overlap, but I thought it was interesting how they were different. I guess like one value that stood out to me was diversity. It wasn't something that I had before, but I think more and more, especially in the professional context, I'm like learning about the value of diversity, whether that's like physical or like personal experiences or different ideas. So yeah, I think that's something that I really value a lot and place high when I'm like looking for like a career or place that I want to work.
Jenny, I love that you took this opportunity. I mean, I know you've done this before and you've engaged with a lot of CCL programs, but you took this opportunity to focus on your professional values. And one of the concepts that we, of course, teach in the CCL is this idea of civic professionalism. And it's kind of like your personal values, your professional values, your civic, they all are kind of one and the same. And I'm curious, do you remember which ones overlapped for you?
Yes.
Outside of diversity?
The ones that overlapped were balance, and then ideas related to growth and dependability.
I think that's fantastic. I think those are applicable to so many things. Johanna, are you back with us? Can you hear us? Or me? I'm the only one talking right now. No, I think we lost her. Okay, well, if you watch this recording, please do reach out if you want to talk more about your values. I'm curious if whomever wants to reply to this, but what do you think was difficult about choosing values as like the most important? I mean, I know you were limited to 5, but what was maybe the most difficult thing for you in this 15-minute activity?
For me, I think it was figuring out, and even though I've done this before, it's like figuring out which ones, like I only get 5.
Yeah.
Which ones are my top 5, and like what's the difference between here's what I want them to be or what I think they should be versus what actually are, like what values actually drive my current operations in life.
Mm-hmm. I think that is such an interesting way to think about it, right? It's like, again, it's all about like what we perceive we want to be, but really what we are. And how did you navigate that, Madison? I mean, I think that's going to be helpful for you as you facilitate smaller group discussions.
Right. I mean, like I mentioned before, like I know faith, like for me, faith is always there. That one's an easy one. I don't know. It was just kind of like, okay, I have all these words. Which words resonate more with me? And I was trying to stay in the realm of like when I'm in X situation, like how do I respond or like what's motivating me and my actions. And then as I like narrowed it down, and then I was like, okay, now looking at these, I know like this is an area I want to grow in, but is this an area that I currently value? Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think it does. I mean, I think it's what's forward action, right? What's the growth area of those values? And then what's currently where you are? And I think it really does, like our mindset, maybe we're not having the best of days, right? Our values might not be as highlighted as we want them to be. Or, maybe we're getting ready for, and I hope you all are, an exciting, good semester at Rice. And you're thinking in that perspective. So the things around us, again, context really does shape how we see our values. And I think as you go through this, Madison and everyone else, you'll see where the values within your goals come through, but then where are those kind of aspirational values being highlighted? So be mindful of that, because I think that's going to be a helpful distinction as you think, forward planning and, Madison, you and Senna, of course, will be facilitating a lot of this, but I would, my recommendation is do it with them, and use this as a guide going into your own semester. I mean, you're a sophomore, you have plenty of years yet still at Rice to engage with all of this. How do you feel? Like I'm gonna be silly, and I'm thinking about a TikTok, and the guy, that sound where it's like, dude, how do you feel? How do you all are on TikTok, right? I'm not just saying things that are really old and archaic at this point. No, okay. But how did this kind of experience make you feel? I mean, this really was maybe like a run for someone, or drinking coffee, or being in a quiet room, or prayer. How did this experience of like sitting down, typing it out, or maybe writing it on paper? How did that make you feel? How do you feel right now?
I would say it kind of helped to concretely codify some of the stuff. Like normally the values are kind of ephemeral, just kind of floating around in my head or in my actions. You can kind of notice them, but I don't normally just sit down and like actually write how I define these terms, or even think about the nuances between different terms to begin with. And so doing this activity makes it a little more concrete, I guess, and helps you kind of know what to look for in interactions with other people, or in doing work, like moving forward, at least for a little bit of time.
Yeah. Davis, I'm curious, with the defining pieces, did you look up the definitions, or did you really sit down and think about how you would define each one of these for yourself?
Yes, I think I mostly did just how I define them myself. Okay. I'm not sure if I got close to like the dictionary definition, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't, how I think of it myself, and how I notice it in current events, or seeing other people working on stuff, or teamwork, cooperation stuff. Yeah.
Wonderful. Ruthie, I saw you were nodding along to Davis's description. How did you feel about this, kind of being kind of forced to sit down and think about these values if you haven't done that in a while?
Yeah, like David said, it really helped having like a concrete list of what values I prioritize, because obviously, I mean, I usually don't take the time to like think about what's important to me, and I liked having like seeing them in front of me rather just like floating around in my head. Yeah.
So if you have like a vision board or something like that, or you journal, I would recommend, putting in a prompt about this, writing down what your values are, come back to it. Maybe at the end of we're right at the beginning of a semester, come back and see how your values change. And honestly, even on Friday, you will all have reflective groups and really sit down, and you've created a plan of action, I hope. Think about your values in that setting. I think, we did this right now in a short amount of time, but think about what's useful as you're writing down these values, as you're honing in on them, as you're, I think Davis, you said you're codifying them, right? And think about what that means to you going forward. This, again, keep it as save this PDF, save it as however you have it, because it'll help you in choosing those activities. I hope the activity descriptions for the asynchronous and the others throughout the week are descriptive enough. But of course, if anything says the Center for Civic Leadership and you have questions about them, actually, I'm going to drop down my or drop in my email right now, just before we get into the kind of final thing. But again, if you need anything or you want to talk about anything, you're always welcome. And I know Madison and Senna will be fantastic in leading that conversation. But any kind of big picture questions about CCL, please do feel free to reach out on that. I want to thank you all for sharing. I know this is not like an easy thing to sit down and think about your values and share them with a group of mostly maybe unknown people, but it is an important part of kind of your own mindfulness and your own practice. I think we lost Jenny, but keep coming back to it, engage with it personally, collectively with the team, and just see how it helps kind of shape and frame this week for you. Let's see what we've got going on. Okay, so this is kind of a homework, a final activity that you have. You won't be doing it quite yet because I want to be mindful of finishing right at 1:30 for you all, because I know you have other things going on. But since this week, as I've mentioned, is really about making connections and gaining perspectives and learning from others and getting feedback and just kind of building a strong foundation for this semester and for hopefully future ones. It really isn't always easy to ask for help or to get feedback. Would you agree? Right? It kind of going back to our pushing us to be excellent, our perfectionism. It seems wrong to ask for help or to seek out people's feedback. But my experience in working with Rice students is everyone wants to help. And I will say that's the same for all the staff and the faculty that you will engage with on campus. And I think that's really important to know that those that are here are really wanting to engage with you and help you. And so you also need to kind of take advantage of that moment to ask for feedback and for help. So this is a homework assignment, and I have this kind of like in quotations, a homework assignment. Before you get into your reflection group with Madison and Senna, I want you to do this, kind of 15 minutes or so beforehand. I want you to write a short description about a time that someone asked you for help or advice. Kind of think about that, go back to that moment in time. What did that mean for you? How did you feel about that? And then I want you to think about something that you need advice about for the coming semester. Think of someone, really anyone, that has maybe that knowledge or expertise around the challenge, and write them a note saying, the subject is seeking your advice. And I want you, in the note, describe the challenge briefly. All right, it's a short note. Indicate why you think they might be the right person to help you, and ask for their advice. That's it. So kind of write out a little, dear whomever, here's my issue. Here's what I'm looking for. I think you would be a good fit to answer this because of so and so, and just ask for the advice. So this is something I think, Madison, you all will be collecting electronically in one form or fashion. And I'm going to drop down the kind of steps so you have it. Please feel free to copy this. I don't want you to have taken really fast notes as I was talking about that. But it is like what we've been doing today. It's going to take a little bit of thinking and writing. So, before maybe you get on the Zoom, close your social media, turn off your computer screen, and sit down and think about this. And the reason that I want, I'm emphasizing this, and everyone else is being given the same prompt, is it's all about processing, right? There's nothing kind of like, it takes a minute. It takes a minute. And that minute for us is really about reflection and about thinking things through. And asking for support throughout this week. So, you have this really great group. I think we're missing just a couple of people right now, but about 10 people, you'll all be together. You're all looking for the same thing in different ways, but you're looking for opportunities, you're looking for engagement, you're looking for connection. And I think that's really important to, in doing so, know how to, create these kind of help-seeking habits and be comfortable with it. How many of you go regularly maybe to office hours for a professor or go to a center? Just see one hand. I want you to be, by the end of this week, ready to go to office hours, ready to send out that email asking a question. And you will gain that experience by leaning on one another in your reflective groups. And that is such a good value, and it's such a good skill to have, because what's the worst someone can say? They're going to say no, maybe, is the worst thing. And that's kind of my rule of thumb. I know it's hard to send an email or pick up the phone and call. Who calls people anyway? Send a text message, we'll say. But try to get into this habit of seeking out people, because that's, wouldn't you want to help someone that asks you for help? Wouldn't you want to be helped as well? So that's really the homework. And I know, Madison, you and Senna will talk a little bit more about that, but I'm curious what you all come up with there. I won't ask you for it, but I hope you engage with this one as fully as you have throughout this session. And I know I'm over, so let me just quickly repeat. Here's the schedule. A lot on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be the asynchronous material. As part of my role in the center, I work on fellowships as well as a few programs. So if anything comes up that you're interested in, fellowships and scholarships, seek me out at the Opportunities Fair. I'd love to talk to you more about that. And with that, I will bid you all a good day, and I hope you have a really enjoyable January Jumpstart. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to stick around. It was lovely talking and meeting you all. You can leave if you want to leave, or you can stay and hang around. I'm not going to kick you out. Bye now.
I thought I'd stay for a minute in case anybody has questions too.
Absolutely. Madison, do you have the list of all the students and everything? Do you need anything
Yes.
from us?